My name is Bruce Rockwell, and I'm ready for another adventure with my friends. And by friends, I mean people I paid to protect me. Though these were no bodyguards since they couldn't prevent an ass kicking even if they had a gun in a boxing match. Alright, maybe I underestimated my bot homies. They were able to kill a calcium mutt as a group while I took a dirt nap. Our one-sided hunt gave us enough testosterone-filled momentum to propel ourselves out of the sissified society known as the Hub. The first thing we discovered on our journey was a bar for introverts. The reason such a thing exists is for those who wish to get out of the house while still living in their lonely, sheltered world. I was able to take advantage of the take a penny, leave a penny system by robbing this wishing well of a charity event. Shortly thereafter, I was trying to buy from a trader that wouldn't stop moving, like being a fat kid whose parents hired a personal trainer disguised as an ice cream truck driver. Then some poor skinny children wanted to jump me for being rich and overweight. These malnourished misfits didn't stand a chance against our well-fed bellies. The fools had no idea that calorie intake is vital if you wish to take in more calories. We then crossed the bridge that could have been literally anywhere else across the river, but instead it was built in the least effective and most shallow spot. Then our group entered the gated community of Bad Teeth, which was such an old-fashioned place that they had a policy that only allowed people who were raised in a nuclear family to enter. Luckily, we all had our permission slips signed by both parents. Sadly though, the orphan portion of my crew had to stay home since they did not meet the only requirement to go on our field trip to the big city. I've been lied to all of my life. I was told if I was raised in a two-parent home, I would turn out to be a good boy. That is not the case, for I am just a thief. Now I'm locked up while a horde of guards take turns tickling my feet. Griffin waited outside the jailhouse. I knew this because I shared the same vision with those who I recruit. Otherwise, why would I recruit them in the first place? Griffin stood out like having functional legs in a wheelchair race, since his walk of life didn't include sneaky steps. Nonetheless, he tried to get me out with more effort than a free so-and-so hashtag ever provided. I tried to limp my way out of imprisonment, only to fall back to the faithful load button. My second attempt actually got me out of the building, and even though I was spotted by a guard, I still remained in my crouching sneak position. I made it far enough out of the city's jurisdiction where the guards just knocked me out instead of arresting me. Then we all finally made it back together, unlike a cover band failing to reunite. Once we were home, we started production on square lip plates, because we wanted to make Africans look even more uncomfortable than they already do. I also hired some actual bodyguards for a day in order to help ease the pain of non-stop raids. On a daily basis, we had to deal with door-to-door solicitors trying to collect donations for their food drive, but they're pretty easy to handle after you chop off one of their limbs. Just make sure to keep your gates locked, because these motherfuckers won't hesitate to stab you for a measly grain of edible sand. The next home invasion we dealt with was brought to you by Dust Bandits, and don't let that innocent sounding name trick you. They also wanted to kill us for our food. A part of our party had passed out in the front yard, which is an indication that everybody went all out. The best way to cure a hangover caused by a beating was to put a steak on it. Where do you put the steak, you may ask? In your mouth. You eat that shit, which is exactly what we planned on doing, so we locked up shop and rolled out. We then arrived at our local Costco. Unfortunately, we forgot our Holy Nation membership cards. The Jehovah's Witnesses knocked us out and left us to die in God's unforgiving lap. Our troubles were just beginning. A varsity team of slave drivers dogpiled onto gargoyle weapons. The rest of us couldn't do anything about it since we were recovering on a rooftop lounge, and that type of luxury just doesn't happen every day. Though we did run into a bit of luck when one of the slavers ran up on us wanting to fight 1 versus 6. Yet, I can only hope that those Muslims over there don't join the battle. I don't know how he pulled it off, but these big bad football players turned into cheerleaders with their headstands and preppy attitude towards not dying. We had successfully 13th amended Steve the Marine jackhammer and gargoyle weapons from slavery. Then a mud flood slung its way across the nation like it was election season. Next, I made safe financial decisions to protect our heads from crippling debt. I also looted from a fish tank ornament, and I'm not talking about that Fairly Odd Parents castle, because look how small this royal shit is. Now the empty city was ours according to the squatter rulebook. However, that rule does not apply to us, which is why our base wasn't taken over by hashish addicted residents. Now that we were home, I began building another structure. I covered the building with an orange safety fence due to the cutthroat construction regulations implemented by yours truly. I had no other choice since the last person you want to take to court is yourself. Then after some more repetitive grinding, we healed up like whores at a free clinic. Oh, and amongst that clusterfuck of animals is a new bull named Bully, and a mule named Food Truck. Later on, a caravan of bipedal horses with no sense of personal space stopped by our gate.
We brought you wares, no hives. Come make trades with our wares.
I was very interested in his wares, but this auctioneer's dialogue was moving faster than if speed rappers read off teleprompters. I kept begging to see the goods, and all I would receive was nonsensical text like I was dealing with an insane Craigslist seller. The trader even changed his name and face mid-conversation, and then left me empty-handed. Afterwards, me, the bar, and Charles Barkley went on yet another supply run. When we returned to our headquarters, we were greeted by an army of sheks. Our group had been forever modified by all the reoccurring raids, which led to us recruiting more prisoners than protective custody for jailhouse snitches. In this building is where it all goes down. Our recruitment process included throwing people in cages and just talking to them, like if the United States took a soft approach against terrorism. One of my notable adoptions was this guy right here. I legally changed his name to Nathan Gray so he could get metagrudged by space virgins. Even with this massive amount of help, I wanted to fight my own battles, like Mike Tyson's son telling his father he wants to be a boxer.
Get out of here! You ain't gonna fight. Get out of here! You stupid! You go to private school. You let me a boxer and stuff.
Yeah, that didn't go over too well for me either. Of course, that doesn't matter when you have a diverse support system such as this. We then continued our Join Us or Die campaign. Here's one of our fine new recruits. We call him Chubbs, a man who dirty bulked with mac and cheese. You also can't forget about the hero named Cocaine Jimmy. Now let me introduce you to our Pointy Horn Division. This unit includes many great warriors such as Deshaun Bones, Freezer, Lady Boner, Soft Hand Shit, Simon Dinosaur, Little Shek, XX Master Gamer XX, Marge Simpson, Homer Simpson, Mr. Tough, Scales Jr., and Cuz. Our army moved with supreme stealth. Nevertheless, we went loud and proud whenever it was necessary. We also knew when to take it easy after a hard-fought battle. Though our war with the Holy Nation raged on because they were xenophobic, and they didn't appreciate our edgy atheism. This is what epic combat sounds like. We had taken over, and to celebrate we had a rooftop rager where we practiced fire drills. However, the fire marshals showed up to turn us all into burn victims. If only we could knock this badass out and microchip him, then we would be in control. It is quite the challenge though, since he is tougher than kids who drink their Capri Suns without a straw. Well, we lost since we raised more alarms than game foul breeders. This load was too much for me to bear. So we redid the operation, and it was a success, but this time I brought out everybody, including my low-class warriors and the paladins I stole from the Holy Nation. Plus we left before any reinforcements showed up. Some of you might call that a bitch move, but I call it strategy. Back at the compound, we solved the world hunger crisis with infinity food, aka a kilo of coke. I also added a high-class subdivision to my neighborhood of fighters. Then later on, Dwight Brad took us into the future by purchasing robotic limbs for those wounded veterans back home. Just look at this miracle provided by Skynet. Once that robotic leg was attached, the boss of Dust shot up faster than a track runner doping up before a race. Our next plan was to go raid a holy farm. Instead, we got distracted by our mortal enemy.
Get off the stage, you drunk bastard!
Anyways, we never did raid that farm, but look at this collective of heroes cohesively marching to their own offbeat rhythm. We then passed by our ex-raid, and they were still jealous of our growing population of outcasts. My team of LARPers were burnt out, and not because they were wearing armor made out of pots and pans, or robes crafted from someone's poor mother's drapes. No sir, we fought a real war, and it was time to sign off.
What'd you say, you motherfucker? Huh? What'd you say? What the fuck you gonna do, walking trail, bitch? Yo, what's up, motherfucker?
This is one hard nigga to kill.
Okay, Boat Bombers Power Tower. Alright, let's see. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Boat Bombers. How does Boat Bomber do a sign on? Hey folks, no, it's not hey, that's Seth. It'd be like Ronald Easter here, and then you just start talking about like beating up lizards. Hey, it's Spicy, let's come in. Let's look at this thing. It's like Ronald Easter here, and today I tore the skin off a mime. Boat Bomber's wiener house looks like a wiener. Spicy called you a wiener.